Hi, welcome to a special episode on IndianAmerican.in. For a change, we're going to have a special guest here today, Suja Sukumar. She's the author and a full-time physician, a mom, a wife, and my wife. I better be upfront about that. So this is a very difficult interview for me because I don't usually interview my family members. I've done radio interviews in the past. I've done some YouTube interviews. So interviewing my wife, it's going to be a challenge today. But anyway, she's here and she's going to talk about her upcoming debut novel. And it's When Mimi Went Missing.
Yes.
And so I'll let you talk. Good morning. And tell us what the stage of the book is right now.
Well, the book is in an editing phase right now, and it's a young adult psychological thriller. It's about an Indian American orphan, a teenager who is being brought up by her aunt, and she's very close to her cousin. And one day her cousin goes missing, but the main character, she does not have any memory of what exactly happened that night. So when her cousin goes missing, and then the clues start pointing towards murder, then she realizes that she is the suspect, and now she has to try and clear her name because she's getting framed for the murder.
So the story starts in Michigan.
The story is set in a fictional town, a small town in Michigan.
And I think the person goes to India for a bit, comes back.
No, she does not. No. The entire story is set in this small town in Michigan. It's one of the small town mysteries, within a very close knit community, where everybody knows everybody else's secrets. So it's one of those movies where you have secrets in pretty much everybody's lives, and it starts coming out. So there are red herrings. There are multiple suspects, but she starts believing that she could be the person.
So I know you can't talk too much about the book because you're still in the final phase of editing. And so let's go back and rewind back to how you got started writing, because I think it started, 2010? So it's been a 12, 13-year journey to this point. And there's so many things you went through, how you got started. So let's talk a little bit so people know how you got started writing, what got you started, the first time you started writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started writing about 12 years ago, and it was a short story initially. I wrote it for a competition. I didn't get in, but that's when I got bit by the writing bug. I've always been a reader, but then I started writing in earnest, and it was hard because I had a full-time job, a hectic call schedule, a family, kids. They were pretty young at that point. But I couldn't stop writing, and I wrote a middle grade adventure and then 2 more books, and those were my practice books. And then finally, with the 4th book is this young adult thriller. That's what, I signed up with an agent with that book.
So but I think I'll bring out an interesting story. When she was in med school, the story goes, she went and knocked on her friend's doors for novels to read when everybody was studying for the med school exams. So
yeah, that's true. I couldn't stop. I used to read late at night. I used to read till 2 and 3, because once you start reading a book, it's hard to put it down. So I would sit up late at night and read a novel, finish up my books while people were studying. So they used to think that there was something wrong,
So finally you got this agent. You signed up with this agent. The agent, now what literary agents are supposed to do is work with you so you can eventually publish the book, right? So how did that experience go with, in between, you had a lot of people naysayers along the way.
Yeah, there were quite a few obstacles in the way, because a large part is because, English is not my mother tongue, it's my second language. And so based on my ethnicity and partly age, partly, a lot of other things, there were quite a few obstacles. People were, there were naysayers, and there were also a lot of people who were extremely helpful, writers, mentors, critique partners who encouraged and supported me.
So the agent, you were with the agent for about 3-4 years now?
Yes.
And then you submitted a lot of books. This was your first book, right?
Yes, this was the first book I signed my agent with, and this is the book which got a book deal. I signed up with him early part of 2019. So with an agent, what happens is they don't get anything. You don't pay anybody. It's basically they help you polish your book. They take care of all the things which goes with towards submitting a book to a publishing company, because most publishing companies need an agent. They don't accept submissions directly from authors. So and yeah, so he sent the book out, and we got the deal that way.
So I know when we went through this, and I was, whenever you get this, when you got this call from the agent saying, "Yep, we're going to sign you," it was a big day. So these are very big, what I call time points in the journey when you get an agent, and the next big point came when the publisher came and said, "Yes, we're going to publish it." That is a huge stage in the process. So when that happened, you know,
Yeah, that was a huge thing because, like I said, this was my first book on submission, and it's very hard actually to get a book deal with your first book, because most authors, when they sign with an agent and they send out a first book, they may end up getting a book deal with their second, third, or fourth book. So I was pretty lucky to get a book deal with my first book. And yes, the call from the publisher was a big deal because she actually was able to get my book. And I think I'm pretty lucky to find her, because I think she's the right person to help me polish and get this book to the stage where we can send it out to readers.
so the thing is, the journey of writing a book, just beginning to write, and then going through the different steps, and finally getting to a point now where you're about 6 months away from fully finishing up the book, editing it, and then it's the publisher takes over, and eventually the book comes out next year. I think you missed out a big part of your journey where I know writing is sort of helps you take your mind away from your profession in this case, and it also helped you take your mind away from a big health scare in your
Yes,
life
that's true.
that happened in 2015.
Yes.
And maybe we can touch a little bit, because people need to understand that these journeys are never straight up. There's always obstacles. So
Yeah. Yeah, when I first started writing in 2010, a large part of it was I wasn't actually, looking towards publishing. It was more therapy for me, because it took me away from the stresses from my day job. I like my day job very much, but sometimes it can get stressful. So it was therapeutic, it was therapy for me. But then in 2015, I got diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer, and that was a health scare for both of us. We had to deal with it. But that writing at that point was really therapeutic, because it helped me escape into a different reality, into a different world, where with my main character, with the world she was in, and it took me away from the problems I was facing at that point with the breast cancer. So it was a huge therapeutic balm for me to be able to write while I was dealing with this cancer, and for him too.
So yeah, I mean that was a big part of trying to get over that phase. But I realized writing was a big deal that helped her get through it, along with many things, along with us going out for coffee and stuff like that. Which
That is true.
surprisingly, she felt that was the best time of her life.
That is true.
She enjoyed that part of
Yeah.
during the treatment, which
Yeah.
till now I think that's sort of nice to hear. But obviously it's a very tough situation. We wanted to bring that up here because we hardly get to talk about it to friends or family. Although some immediate friends knew about her journey through that. It is an important part because you can't take that out of your life because it did happen. And now, we're looking forward to the book, finishing up the book. And there's a lot of publicity and marketing that needs to be done by the publisher. But also Suja will be involved in marketing it. And this is our first attempt to try and help get the word out. And also Suja gets a talk about herself a bit and get used to the fact that she'll have to market the book and then once it comes out and before it comes out. So
the book is right now in its editing phase, and we go through what are called developmental edits. And once we go through several phases of edits until it finally is polished enough, perfect enough, and then they make out advanced reading copies, and that'll probably come out later this year. And that goes to a select people, people who make blurbs, bloggers, reviewers. And the date for publication is supposed to be, for right now, June 4th of 2024. It can change. It can be earlier, later. All depends on the progress. but the publisher then takes over, marketing and all of that. So yes, and I will have more information available. It'll be on my website, and the website's called sujasukumar.com, and that will have information about me, about my books, the stages, my blog. I have a blog post in there about how I got my agent, and also how I got my book deal. So there are 2 posts in there, and that'll give you more information about how the whole journey happened.
That's great. So I think we covered a lot of this today, and we'll keep it short, and we'll come back later again if there's more updates.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.